Here's something almost nobody tells you about money. The first $100,000 you save will feel like the hardest thing you've ever done. And the second $100,000 will happen almost by accident. That's not a typo. That's not motivational nonsense. That's actually how money behaves once it crosses a certain line. There's a strange tipping point that happens somewhere around six figures, where saving stops feeling like pushing a boulder uphill and starts feeling like the boulder is rolling on its own. Most people never find out what that feels like. Not because they don't earn enough, not because they don't work hard enough, but because they quit right before the moment where everything starts to shift. So, today, we're going to talk about what actually happens the moment you hit $100,000, why it's so brutally slow to get there, and why, once you do, something almost magical starts to take over. Let's start with the common belief. Most people think saving money works like this. You save $10,000, then you save another $10,000, then another and another, all the way up to $100,000. Like climbing stairs. Each step feels the same as the last. Same effort, same difficulty, same speed. That belief is completely wrong, and it's the reason so many people give up. Picture two friends, Sarah and Jake. Both make the same salary. Both start saving at the same time. For the first 2 years, Jake feels like he's barely moving. He saves diligently, checks his account, and sees numbers that barely seem to grow. Meanwhile, his friends are posting vacations, new cars, upgraded apartments. Jake starts to wonder if this is even worth it. This is the exact moment where most people quit. Not because the math stopped working, but because the emotional reward stopped matching the effort. Psychologists call this the middle mile problem. The beginning of a goal feels exciting because everything is new. The end of a goal feels exciting because you're close to the finish line. But the middle? The middle just feels like work with no visible reward. And that's exactly where most people abandon their savings goals. Right before the part where it actually gets easier. Here's the twist nobody explains clearly. Your first $100,000 is mathematically the hardest money you will ever save. After that, the entire game changes. Let's break down why. Imagine your savings account is a snowball, and you're rolling it down a hill. At the very top of the hill, the snowball is small. To make it grow, you have to do almost all of the work yourself. You push, you pack snow onto it by hand. You fight gravity because there's barely any momentum yet. This is what saving your first $100,000 feels like. Almost every single dollar in that number came directly from your effort, your paycheck, your discipline, your choice to skip the takeout, delay the upgrade, or say no to another impulse purchase. In the beginning, investment growth barely contributes anything meaningful because you simply don't have enough money invested yet for growth to matter. Let's put real numbers to this so it clicks. Say you're investing in something that grows an average of 8% a year, which is a common long-term average for a diversified stock investment. If you have $5,000 invested, an 8% return gives you $400 for the year. That's barely enough to cover a nice dinner. It feels irrelevant. It feels like nothing is happening. But now picture $100,000 invested. That same 8% isn't $400 anymore. It's $8,000 in 1 year, without you lifting a finger. That's money showing up in your account while you're sleeping, while you're at work, while you're doing literally anything else. This is the moment the snowball stops needing you to push it so hard. Gravity, meaning the market, meaning compounding, starts doing real work alongside you. Here's a simple way to picture the difference between the first $100,000 and every $100,000 after that. To save your first $100,000 purely from your own income and discipline, if you're saving around $2,500 a month, it could take you roughly 5 to 6 years, depending on your return, but to go from $100,000 to $200,000. With the same monthly savings, plus growth compounding on a much bigger base, that same jump might only take 3 to 4 years. Not because you're saving more, not because you're working harder, but because your money is now working alongside you instead of you working alone. This is the part school never teaches. We're taught that money grows in a straight line. Save the same amount, get the same result every single year. But money doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows in a curve, painfully slow and flat at the start. Then it gently starts to lift. Then, given enough time, it becomes almost vertical. Most people quit while they're still standing on the flat part of that curve, convinced it will always feel this hard. Here's the deeper psychological truth hiding underneath all of this. Humans are wired to expect rewards that match our effort. If you study hard for a test, you expect a good grade almost immediately. If you go to the gym, you expect to feel it the next day. Our brains crave that immediate feedback loop. But wealth building doesn't work on human timing. It works on compounding timing. And compounding has a very specific personality. It is boring, invisible, and unimpressive for a long stretch of time, right up until the moment it becomes undeniable. Think about a bathtub filling with water, one drop at a time. For a long time, the bottom of the tub barely looks wet. It feels pointless. But underneath the surface, every single drop is preparing the moment when the water level starts rising fast. The tub isn't broken. It isn't failing. It's simply following its nature. Slow, then fast. This is why so many people feel broke, discouraged, or like they're bad with money, when in reality, they're just standing in the slow part of the curve and mistaking it for the whole story. There's another psychological trap hiding here too. Once people start seeing real progress, a strange temptation shows up. Lifestyle inflation. As income grows, or as that first big chunk of savings finally appears, the brain quietly whispers, "You've earned a reward." A nicer car, a bigger apartment, nights out to celebrate. And just like that, the very growth that finally started working gets interrupted, right before the acceleration phase kicks in. This is why so many high earners still feel stuck financially. It's rarely about how much they make. It's about staying consistent through the boring middle instead of celebrating too early and resetting the snowball back to the top of the hill. So what should you actually do with all of this? First, understand that the first $100,000 is designed to feel disproportionately difficult. That's not a sign you're doing something wrong. That's simply the mechanics of compounding before it has enough fuel to accelerate. Second, shift your focus away from the dollar amount and onto the habit. Automate your saving and investing so it happens without relying on willpower or motivation, which naturally fade over time. The goal in the early stage isn't to feel rewarded. The goal is to stay in the game long enough to reach the part where the reward becomes automatic. Third, resist the urge to upgrade your lifestyle the moment you see real progress. That first $10,000, then $50,000, then $100,000 milestone is not a finish line. It's the ignition switch. If you pull back your effort right as momentum builds, you reset the hardest, slowest part of the process. And fourth, remind yourself regularly that growth is a curve, not a straight line. If you've been saving consistently for a year or two and it still feels like nothing is happening, that's not proof that it's not working. That is exactly what the flat part of the curve is supposed to feel like. Most people never reach their first $100,000, not because the math is impossible, but because the emotional experience of getting there is deeply misleading. It feels like nothing is happening, right up until the moment everything starts happening at once. The truth is, your first $100,000 is the toll you pay to unlock a completely different financial game. One where your money starts contributing more than you do. One where growth stops, depending entirely on your effort, and starts depending on time. So if you're standing right now in that flat, frustrating, invisible part of the curve, wondering if any of this is even working, that feeling isn't a warning sign. It's a sign that you're closer than you think.